Woman, an adult female. A female person associated with a particular place, activity, or occupation. Female adults in general. There are many cultures and urban legends about entities that prey on lonely and unfaithful men, or others as well. They often appear in the guise of beautiful women and lure them in to only bring about a horrible demise upon them. This demise could be the man being consumed or driven insane. These stories could have truths behind them, or they could simply be told to teach and instill moralistic behavior among others. Every culture has their own variation of these beings that prey on people and hide their true forms as women. Last time we discussed the terrifying women who prey within the Latin countries. Now, let us take a trip to the Far East and hear about the women who prey within Japan. Welcome to Innocence Unknown. The Japanese call their spirits or ghostly entities yokai. These yokai can come in many forms and can be friendly, helpful, mischievous, or evil. They have their own motives for the actions they commit. This includes coming in the form of a woman that prays. Hasshaku-sama is a twisted and evil yokai that comes in the appearance of an 8-foot-tall woman. Her name is quite literally Japanese for 8 foot tall. She is described by those that claim to see her as being not only tall, but having long black hair and wearing a long white gown and hat and barefoot. Her form can be varied from being beautiful to a grotesque hag. Either way, she has a very particular favorite when it comes to prey: children. She will choose her prey by watching and stalking a child, often calling for them disguised as a relative or other figure in the child's life that they know. Once she has chosen her prey, she will never leave them alone, and they will soon die by her hands. You will know when she is near and close by hearing her speak in a male voice. Ho, ho, ho. If you happen to become the very center of her attention, she will stop at nothing to get you. There is ways to escape her grasp, though. This can range from a large amount of praying and visiting priests, or just leaving Japan altogether. However, if you step back in Japan, even if it is decades later, she will come to claim your soul. It is unknown as to why she stalks and takes the souls of children. Perhaps it is due to hatred and jealousy of the living, or simply to seek revenge of some kind. Then again, perhaps it's just part of her nature as an evil yokai. Though some have claimed to bear witness to her, there is no physical proof of her existence, only the stories of others. Often it is speculated to be a story invented to teach children to not wander too far from the sight of their parents, or to teach them to be wary of strangers that could mean to do harm to them. She was the inspiration for many a different villains and fictional characters, including the most recent and quite popular, Lady Dimitrescu from Resident Evil. If it is true or not, be wary of your little ones while visiting Japan. It is very possible they could easily catch the eye of the terrifying Hasshaku-sama. Train stations can be very dark, desolate, and eerie places to be late at night. When they are not busy and the last train has run, the silence can be deafening to a degree. The dark tunnels the trains often will travel through and the dark surroundings of the stations can be quite foreboding and ominous places. These stations have become the site of many an urban legend, and plenty of scary stories to be told about things that lurk along the tracks at night. And there are plenty of popular stories told about these places, one notable from the dark mind of Clive Barker, known as the Midnight Meat Train. However, it is the story of a vengeful spirit that stalks the tracks of train stations late at night in Japan, named only Teke. There are two origins of this evil spirit, and why she stalks the tracks. It is truly unknown which one is the true origin though, and may even be possible they both had occurred. The first one dates all the way back to right after World War II had ended. An American GI or group of them had assaulted a Japanese woman named Kashima Reiko in Hokkaido. After the men had beaten her and finished having their way with her, they threw her on the tracks. As she lay there dying and in pain, a train then ran over her, cleanly slicing her in half. Though a wound of this nature would have quickly caused one to die, it happened to be quite a cold evening that night, and this caused her to bleed out slower than usual, further prolonging her painful death. She managed to use her hands and elbows to crawl away to seek help. A station attendant heard her pleas and moans and went to investigate the noise. When he found the poor woman, he was horrified and acted irrationally. He then covered the woman with a tarp of plastic and ignored her. She stayed there until she painfully and slowly died the rest of that night. Now Kashima Reiko stalks the restrooms of train stations as a vengeful spirit. When one enters the restroom, and as they sit in their stall, a quiet female voice will ask them softly, "Where are my legs?" If one tries to ignore her or answer incorrectly, such as saying, "I don't know," she will then appear and attack by slicing them in half in an attempt to make them just like her. The only way to dodge this fate is to tell her on the Meshin line. The second origin is a bit different. It is the story of a young Japanese girl that was bullied and ridiculed often in school. This was mostly due to her having a lack of courage and being quite afraid of her own shadow. This ridicule would lead to practical jokes that were often cruel. It is one of these pranks that would lead to the creation of this terrifying entity. One day the girl was at a train station along with several of her peers. They placed a cicada on the girl's shoulder, looking only to get a quick surprise out of her, and instead, her reaction caused her to fall on the tracks, which ended with her demise. Just as Kashima Reiko, she was sliced clean in half by an incoming train. The story then goes that a young boy was walking home one night by the train station and happened to look up at the window of an abandoned building and noticed a very pretty young girl staring back at him. She was perched on her elbows, looking down, and asked him, "Where are my legs?" The boy was confused and did not understand nor knew how to answer the young woman and replied with, "I am sorry, but I do not know." The girl then all of a sudden lifted herself up on hands and leaped from the window, revealing that she was nothing more than the top half of a woman, and began to chase after the boy, scraping along on her hands and elbows. The boy ran as fast as he could, and she still managed to catch him, and like Kashima Reiko, sliced him in half as well. In both stories, she carried a scythe in her hand, and as she pursued her victims, the sounds of her fingers and elbows scraping along the ground made the sounds teke, teke. It is believed that if you find yourself in a train station late at night, you can encounter this evil spirit. You will hear the sounds of her slowly approaching, making only the noise teke, teke. When you see her, she will be that of a corpse cut in half, crawling on her fingers and elbows with her scythe, stalking to find her next victim to make her just like herself had been made into. Perhaps it would be wise to avoid the train stations at night altogether while visiting Japan. Also, Be sure to wait until you're away from the station to go relieve oneself. It's late at night as you calmly walk home. The city streets are not busy anymore and almost look desolate and quiet. Then a lone figure approaches you slowly. As the figure comes closer, it turns out to be a tall and slender woman with long dark hair. She wears a beige trench coat and a surgical mask upon her face. She seems quite attractive even with the mask on. Carrying a large pair of scissors, she places herself within your path to block you. She then asks you one question as she approaches.
Do you think I am pretty?
You say yes, and then she removes her mask to reveal a mutilated face where her mouth was sliced open from ear to ear, giving her a very grotesque and bloody grin. Then comes her next question.
Do you think I am pretty now?
How do you answer now? What you do next will be either the end of you, or it will be your survival. Thus is the conundrum posed by an encounter with Kuchisaki Onna, or also known as the Slit-Mouth Woman. Kuchisaki Onna's story goes all the way back to the 17th century during the Edo period. She was the beautiful and stunning wife of a samurai. She was quite a vain woman, and at a point began to have eyes for another man. Her husband then caught her in the act of infidelity, and he went into a jealous rage. He tied her up, and then took his blade and sliced her mouth open from ear to ear, creating the mutilated and perverted wide bloody smile she has come to be known for. He then said to her, "Who will find you pretty now?" He then took her life, after which he took his own out of regret for his actions. Now she is known to wander the streets to this day as a vengeful evil spirit. She will approach others in an unsuspecting manner wearing a surgical mask and carrying a large pair of scissors, placing herself within their path to block them and ask them,
Do you think I am pretty?
If you answer yes, she will ask once more after removing her mask,
Do you think I am pretty now?
Her chosen victim now must answer wisely, for their life will depend on it. If you say yes, she will then attack and use her large scissors to slice your mouth to reflect her own. If you try to run and escape, she will chase after you and slice you in half. If you decide to tell her no, she will just quietly walk away. Though one may feel relieved and believe the ordeal is over, it isn't. She will then stalk and follow you quietly to your home, where she will come to her victim as they sleep and murder them, then continue to stalk the streets in search of her next victim. Though it seems there is no winning in this situation, there is ways to escape her. You must answer in ways that are left innocuous and confusing to buy you enough time to run and hide from her. When she asks you her question, answering by saying she looks okay, or just meh. Or you can even flip the tables completely and ask her, Do you think I'm pretty? During which she will pause and consider an answer, giving you time to slip away. And another attempt to escape her approach, you could even just offer her money or candy, which could distract her long enough to also allow you to run away. It's not truly known if she is real, or just a tall tale. There are people that have claimed to see her, or even have escaped her as well. In the 1970s, there were children in Nagasaki telling of a strange woman with a mask approaching them and asking if she was pretty. However, no such woman was ever found and questioned. It is even possible the entire story is just a cautionary tale of the dangers of being unfaithful to one's lover. Regardless of the case, be sure to stay vigilant when you visit Japan, and keep in mind she could be near you. and you may never even know it until she finally approaches you.
Do you think I am pretty?
Thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, please give a like, leave a comment, and subscribe. Perhaps click the bell for notifications, and remember, hell is empty, and the devils are here.